It is the final podcast before the Men's College World Series begins, and that means we have to continue a tradition, unlike any other. That's Mike Monaco joining us on Dugouts, Dumbbells, and Dingers. Folks, he has just touched down in Omaha, not less than an hour ago, and he has taken his first thing in Omaha is to hop on our podcast. So, Mike, we appreciate the time. Welcome back. It's always great to have you on, and this is setting up for one of the greatest 11-day stretches in all of sport. Obviously, the best stretch in college baseball. Let's just start there because I know there's all this anticipation about the teams that are in Omaha and the storylines and everything, but just you're back in Omaha. So what are you feeling right now? What emotions are going through you as you've just checked into your hotel room?
Yeah. First of all, David, thanks for having me. It's great to chat with you again. It's great to be here is my first thought. It's always special coming here and you can just kind of feel it. Ryan McGee, who does such a great job doing many things for us at ESPN. If you haven't seen it, he just came out with like a 10-minute, really well produced by him and everyone who worked on it, piece on just the history of this event and what makes it special. And I was watching it between flights today, and it gets you in the spirit. Like, it is one of the really unique sporting events that goes on in the country. And Ryan said this in the piece, like, you think College World Series, you think Omaha. You think Omaha, you think College World Series. And there's not that many cities where you can say that. Indianapolis and the Indy 500, Louisville and the Kentucky Derby, the Rose Bowl, Pasadena, like those types of things. But there's not that many that are so iconic and so blended in with the city that they're happening in. So Carl Ravitch and I just got off our flight. We were on the same flight together and rode over to the hotel. And sir, you got a rental car for 13 days and checking in for 13 nights? Yep, that's correct. That's us. It is awesome to be here. And yeah, can't wait to get going.
Yeah, absolutely. And you and Carl will get going on Friday with the Men's College World Series on ESPN. All 4 games, the first 4 games are on ESPN for the first time ever. That is awesome on Friday and Saturday. And of course, you got coverage across the ESPN networks throughout the entire 12, 13-day stretch. I lose count of how many days it is at this point. And then the finals on ESPN, ABC, and ESPN for what is the 75th anniversary of the Men's College World Series being in Omaha. So, obviously a lot to talk about here, and we'll get into all of it. I do want to start though with the environment, because for you specifically, you've been in NHL arenas, you've been in MLB stadiums as you pinch it for the Red Sox quite a bit. You have been in college football stadiums. You've been in the loudest college baseball venues. You just made your first trip to Lindsey Nelson for regionals this year. What's different about the vibe in Omaha and at the Chuck during the College World Series?
I think it's that you get the blend of a team's fan base. When LSU and Arkansas are playing on Saturday night, we're going to hear both those fan bases. We're going to see both those fan bases. You get that, but you also get the casual fan or the fan of college baseball and a diehard who's just here to support whoever or might latch onto a team over the course of the week. So I think that's kind of what makes it different and special, and you get huge crowds regardless, sort of because of that. I'm excited to see how it shakes out. It's a little bit different than what we've had in recent years. And for me, this is my, 4th year doing this. It feels different than what I've experienced in the first 3 years, just with the swath of conferences or not in a conference represented, and just how wide the group of teams is from around the country. So I'm excited to see what it looks like, and everyone kind of descending here in Middle America for it, like always.
Yeah, let's not forget about old independent Oregon State, right? I mean, they were in the Pac-12 once upon a time, but now they're coming in loud and proud after Mitch Cannon built such a rigorous schedule with 19 home games, and then they end up hosting a regional and super regional and brooming right through that all the way here to Omaha to come back for the first time since 2018. You talked about how spread out this field is, right? There's 2 SEC teams, 1 from 5 other conferences, and then independent Oregon State. No repeats from 2024. First time that's happened since 1957. What does that say to you about the parity in college baseball? And do you think this is going to become a more consistent trend?
I don't know if it is. And I don't know if we're going to have consistent trends. Like, conference alignment changes so much that, who's to say that in a few years things won't look entirely different? No, but in all seriousness, who knows? Like, I think there was sort of maybe a fear From those outside of the SEC and ACC, just my sense that there might have been a fear the last couple of years that it was going to be so dominated by those two conferences and that they were going to have such a stranglehold on things. Well, it's not the case. Like, you effectively have what were 3 Pac-12 teams here. You've got your Cinderella in Murray State. And yes, you still have some powers from the SEC and maybe 2 of the 3 most talented teams in the country, and LSU and Arkansas. And then a Louisville team that I think is fascinating. Like, they had been mainstays here, and now you haven't been since 2019. And Dan McDonnell finished every press conference here the same way through their runs here, saying, we'll be back. Well, it took him a while to get back, and he will be the first one to tell you that. And it went through a lot of soul searching in that program and for him personally over the last few years. So I think they're fascinating. So to your question, I don't know if there's one way to say that, this is going to be the norm or this will be the expectation in years going forward. I think we can say this, like, the fear that NIL and portal changes in all of college athletics, the fear that those are going to totally wipe away Cinderella. I don't think we have to be super concerned about that. Like, again, look at Murray State. And I know that's anecdotal, but look at what Little Rock did in the regionals and stuff like that, So I think there maybe is some comfort for, like, the casual team and probably the mid-major coach out there and the low-major coach on where things are. But yeah, I think nonetheless, it's a super exciting field.
Yeah, I would certainly agree with you there, especially when it comes to those 4 seeds that people do become more familiar with when they're put into this limelight in the college baseball postseason. Obviously, Murray State, they're here in Omaha, but you've got Little Rock. Angel Cano has become, became the face of the Baton Rouge Regional, even though Little Rock didn't win. They took LSU to a Game 7, and now everybody knows everything about Angel Cano. And the fact that he's coming back to college baseball for another year, people are like, oh, where's he going to go? Like, they're not just assuming he's going to be back in Little Rock, whereas 3 weeks ago, nobody outside of Little Rock probably knew who Angel Cano was. So it is the magic of this postseason that it really brings out, every kind of angle. And I tend to agree with you that we're not going to lose Cinderellas. And you see that, like you said, this year with Murray State. They are here. They did what they had to do. They ousted Duke. They ended Chris Pollard's tenure in Durham. And now they're here at the Men's College World Series. Before we get into these teams specifically, I do want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor for the postseason here. I'm repping one of their shirts right now, the UCLA shirt, Home Field Apparel. Mike, I'm assuming you are familiar with Home Field Apparel.
I am familiar, yes.
Yes. They have quite an incredible line from Notre Dame, which you are an alum of. And Home Field Apparel is sponsoring Dugouts, Dumbbells, and Dingers for the podcast. So thank you to Home Field Apparel. Use our code 3D15 for 15% off your first order at homefieldapparel.com. They just had a Murray State drop. There's a new line of Michigan hats dropping the day before play begins in Omaha. And they just unveiled the Omaha project with Coastal Carolina, where you can get their 2016 pullover jerseys. There's a whole lot of great stuff going on at Home Field Apparel. So make sure you go there, homefieldapparel.com. This is the UCLA shirt that I just received today from Josh. It says the best in the West, and it's showing off the UCLA Bruins. So thank you to Home Field Apparel. All right, Mike Monaco with us here on Dugouts, Dumbbells, and Dingers. You can find him on Twitter at @MikeMonaco_. Don't forget the underscore at the end, or you won't get to his Twitter profile. Mike, talk to me about the preparation for calling an event like this. Obviously, 8 teams is a ton to prep for, and you have about a week to do it. So what's the process?
Yeah, that's a question that is, paramount in my mind here over these last few days. It's interesting because you come out of super regionals, and by the time you kind of catch your breath off that weekend, it's Sunday or in some cases Monday each year. Typically we'll try to be on a super that is Friday, Saturday, Sunday, as opposed to Saturday, Sunday, Monday for that reason, just to give a little bit more time prepping. That's usually my preference. And then you're just cramming. Like Monday and Tuesday for me are 2 of the most enjoyable days of just diving into everything that has to do with this field and these teams. And then Wednesday is a travel day, so you're maybe not getting as much done, but still can be productive over the course of the day. And then Thursday for us is a day where we sit down with every team for an hour, players from those teams for an hour. So you get, 5 different players from each team. You're going 8 hours straight. You're talking to maybe 40 players in total. And it's just a wonderful bit of access that we get, and we're really grateful for it. that we can sit down and learn these stories and get to know the players that we're going to be talking about. And maybe players that you've covered before in a lot of cases. Like last year, I think, coming to Omaha, I think I'd covered every team or close to it that year or in the postseason the year before. So felt like I had a real good familiarity with teams. This year, it's a little different. So like there's not a lot of players that I've specifically covered and met before. So I'm going to be learning a lot of their stories in their own words for the first time, different from what you read or hear in press conferences and that sort of thing. It's super fun. It just reminds you that we have great people in this game, wonderful players with great stories to tell and great personalities and great appreciation for where they're at in their journeys. I always leave that feeling pretty heartened by it. And then, yeah, from a work perspective, you feel like you've got some good stories to tell and stuff you want to share with the country watching. And then what's really helpful for us on game days, we sit down with every head coach the day of game and we talk with them in the morning for sometimes up to 45 minutes. And it's very, very much appreciated again on our end that coaches are willing to do this and have been every year because it allows us to tell their stories. And I think they recognize that the access is very important to us and important to them and to the sport. So we really appreciate that. So yeah, to answer your question, like it is totally cramming, getting ready. And it doesn't, you said a week, it doesn't feel like a full week because by the time you come off supers, and if, Friday afternoon is the first game, 2 Eastern, 1 Central, it feels like you're really cramming. So you find ways to prioritize and figure out what's most important. Do I really need to spend my time on this sort of preparation that might be part of my normal routine? Or do I need to instead prioritize this and get more bang for the buck? So that's something I'm, just personally still learning in every sport that I do and learning what I need to hopefully feel good about, my preparation going into a game. And it's evolving. And I tell young announcers that all the time, like, your process might change and what your notes look like might change. And that's totally fine. Like everyone has something that works for him or her. And it can evolve over time. So, but it's really fun. Like I said, like it's really fun diving into these teams. And yeah, I've heard of Trent Carraway, but to really dig into his story and hopefully to spend time with him on Thursday. Coastal Carolina, it's been a few years since I've covered them, to see where they're at now, to get to know Kevin Schnall. Like that's exciting. Caden Bodine, like digging into what makes him such a good defensive catcher gets me very excited. So yeah, it's really rewarding, but it is certainly cramming to get ready. And that's for everyone on our production crew, the people behind the scenes as well. We have an amazing, amazing set of resources that we have in terms of people and technology. And they do so much heavy lifting, not just this week, but in the lead up to this and really all postseason as well, because it's a bare undertaking. And we got great people working on this.
Yeah, absolutely. And it certainly comes through on the telecast from ESPN throughout the College World Series, all the preparation, all the access that you all get to these coaches and players. Like the stories that you're able to tell are fantastic. Like the fact that Dan Skirka, the head coach of Murray State, cuts his own grass. Like people wouldn't know that except for, getting the access that you all are able to do and able to relay to the listeners. And I love the fact that you bring up the process and the way you take notes and things that are ever changing. Because there was a great photo that you put up on Twitter during the ACC baseball championship where you are sitting in a corner somewhere next to Mike Farron and Gabby Sanchez as they're calling the ACC championship. And it's very clear that you are deep in prep while watching these two call the ACC title game. So you never know where you're going to find those extra minutes and extra times and really just osmosis from listening to other broadcasters talking about the game because you're getting set to call teams that will advance in the ACC championship. So I love that you bring all of that up. Let's focus in on Murray State for a second, because as we've mentioned, they are the talk of the tournament, right? They're the 4th ever 4 seed to reach Omaha. When you have a team like the Racers that is already a national headline and there's already so much coming out from them from all over, where do you focus in when you try and tell that kind of team story?
Well, I think, yeah, you try to catch up to speed on what's kind of happened over the last few weeks. But then, like, a lot of people who will be watching this haven't seen a lot of Murray State. Like, even you have your most diehard college baseball fans. And yes, they followed it. But even still, like, if they were trying to watch every pitch of Murray State during the regionals or even during the super regionals when there's, a quarter of the teams remaining, it's not easy to be up to speed on everything that they've done. So I don't assume that anyone, is super familiar with their story. I mean, certainly you don't want to insult the most diehard of diehard fans of the game in general, and then certainly the fans who follow Murray State all season. Their fan base, they obviously know their story quite well. So yeah, it's catching up on kind of what you've missed, and then going in with an open mind and be ready to learn. And I think that goes for every team too. Like when we talk about meeting with these players and these coaches, like go in with an open mind. Yeah, like I've seen a lot of Jared Jones through the years, and there's still stuff I'm going to learn, hopefully from him or from Jay Johnson or any of the assistant coaches that I didn't know before about Jared Jones. And just be curious. Like it's one of the fun things about this. Just listen to people, and if they say something that piques your interest, follow up with them, like, hey, what do you mean by that? Or, whoa, really? Like, I hadn't heard that. And see where a conversation leads. But to answer your question on Murray State, yes, I've been kind of consuming as much as I can from what they've done, not just these last few weeks, but all season. But still, like, I'm learning it for the first time. And, Berkey covered them doing squeeze play. But KP, it's new for all of us. Like, we're going to get to meet them, their coaching staff, I think probably for all of us, probably for the first time meeting Dan Skirka. So that's exciting. And you get a chance to hear, what their journey's been like. And, they've been at it for a while, and we haven't run into them yet at any point in our coverage. So to hear what's been going on in their world is pretty exciting. And again, that's the case with all the teams, even the teams who've been to Omaha a bunch. Well, maybe it hasn't been a few years. I mean, you mentioned that we haven't had, it's been a long time since we haven't had a repeat team. Even the programs that have been here a bunch through the years, but maybe haven't been in a few years. All right, like what's different? What did Arkansas change in how it builds an offense to get through to this point? Those types of things I think are really interesting.
No, I love it. And I think you're going to get the most information from Murray State if you talk to Dan Skirka's son, because he was chomping at the bit to get on that post-game interview after they beat Duke in the decider in the Super Regional. So make sure you get a exclusive one-on-one with him as well. A couple more minutes here with Mike Monaco as we preview the Men's College World Series. Of course, coverage begins on Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central. Mike, you have the second game of the day, right? You have Louisville and Oregon State. Okay, so Mike is that one. Carl has the first one with Arizona and Coastal Carolina. And speaking of storylines, that's one of the storylines of the Men's College World Series, right? The rematch of the 2016 finals is the lid lifter for the 75th edition here in Omaha, Arizona and Coastal. You've got Arkansas and Oregon State, a potential rematch from the 2018 dropped foul ball that lives rent-free in Arkansas fans' minds. You've got UCLA being back for the first time since winning it all 12 years ago. You've got LSU trying to extend their dynasty into the 2020s. Louisville and Arizona, tradition-rich programs that have returned for the first time in a little bit. So what overarching storyline are you most excited to talk about over the next 12 days?
I don't know if there's one overarching one. I think the last few years, like we've had these super fields, where it's maybe half SEC, half ACC, and it's a bunch of projected top 15 picks. We have really good teams, and we have a ton of talent. We got plenty of first rounders, but I don't know if there's one overarching SEC versus ACC or. Yeah, the super teams that we had in recent years, going back to 21 of Tennessee, I kind of think about it there, or Arkansas that year, even though that season didn't end up where they wanted it to. We've had these Tennessee and LSU and Wake Forest super teams. I don't know if we have that. We haven't had that all season. Number one changed so much over the course of this year. We do have some really talented players and teams here. And again, I think LSU and Arkansas are about as talented as any teams you'll find in the country. Maybe Tennessee right in there too. Maybe those are your three most talented teams. I think most people would agree in the country. So I don't know if there is one overarching. And so I think in that sense, all right, who emerges? Yeah, I think LSU and Arkansas are probably your favorites. but they play each other Saturday night, So how does this all shake out? I think Oregon State's really talented. Like, I cannot wait to watch Dax Whitney, stud freshman, go. Can't wait to watch Patrick Forbes of Louisville. Can't wait to watch Lucas Moore running wild. Eddie King, a senior who's kind of paid his dues and waited for this moment to have a season this good and got serenaded at Jim Patterson Stadium as a send-off during Super Regionals. Like, that stuff to me is so cool. I said it earlier, but like, let's see what Coastal's all about. Like, Kevin Schnall has said it, like, we are no underdog, and please do not get it confused. Like, 23 straight wins, ton of talent, Caden Bodine, high-end talent, a rotation that is pretty sick Friday through Sunday. I'm really excited to see what they can do. And then Rock Chalowski. I mean, you want to talk about guys who, by all accounts, you hear this, and I got to check in with Kylie McDaniel on this. But Rock Chalowski very easily could be 1-1 next year. He's certainly in that mix right now. So I'm excited to see what he's all about and get to know his story. And then, Arkansas and LSU. I mean, LSU, Cade Anderson, I remember seeing him during the regional last year at Chapel Hill. I was calling that. And he pitched twice on the same day, facing elimination. And he came out, and I was working the games with Gabby Sanchez. And Gabby was like, whoa, like, that's a big leaguer. And Cade was a very highly regarded recruit coming in and it had a good freshman season. But to think about where that ended last year for him and then what he's done all season, can't wait to see what he can do. I think LSU is looking pretty good. Stephen Milam getting back to kind of postseason monster Milam of last year, it does wonders for their offense. So there's so much I'm excited to see. And then Arkansas, I mean, what a pitching staff. Like, there are so many guys up and down that rotation and guys who probably aren't even throwing a lot of innings that are scary on that staff. And then, I want to see Vahiva Loy with my own eyes. And it's a really violent swing. It's fun to watch at shortstop. We saw that in the Super against Tennessee with like casual over the shoulder type play. So I'm excited to see all of it. Charles Davalon, like, that to me is a real fascinating story. You go from Florida Gulf Coast, and we've seen so much of this in the portal the last, let's say, 5 years, but seeing how good he has been. Logan Maxwell, like, I remember seeing him here with TCU. I think that was my first year, maybe my second. But seeing, what he's become in their lineup. So anyway, I could go on, and I do, because there is no answer in my mind to your question of like one overarching theme. I think it's who grabs this at the right time and who gets hot and who manages the pitching, who manages how they play in this ballpark, those types of things.
Yeah, I think my favorite pitching matchup you just brought up is going to be Cade Anderson, Zach Root Saturday night. Like, lock me in for that. I'm all in for that matchup, absolutely. And for my money, Vahiva Loy is winning the Golden Spikes Award, but we'll see how that plays out in Omaha. All right, couple of quick hitters for you before we let you go. Appreciate your time joining us here on Dugouts, Dumbbells, and Dingers. How's the golf game looking? You gonna get the Omaha crown this year?
No, definitely not going to win that. The clubs have arrived, though. I'm fresh off an 86 on Sunday, which for me is good. A really hard course back home in Massachusetts. Best round I had ever played on that course, but an 86 is nothing to brag about, and you are not taking anyone's money out here with an 86. Not Kyle Peterson, not Chris Burke, not Ravi for sure. I mean, they would dust me not even wearing their golf spikes. All three of them would, and probably with their eyes closed. But yeah, it'll be fun. I'm going to be out here the whole time, which I've never stayed the entire time out here before. So hopefully I'll get a little time to golf, maybe a little bit more than normal.
Yeah, I saw you're doing some studio coverage for the finals as well, so that'll be awesome stuff. And you're bringing Jackie Bradley Jr. into the fold, so obviously that's fantastic with his first year with ESPN, and obviously you and I, you work for the Red Sox. Growing up a Red Sox fan, that was fantastic to see that he's going to be a part of the college baseball World Series coverage for the finals. Couple more for you here. When you get to Omaha and you get checked into the hotel, what's the first place you have to go check out? What is your Omaha Roman Empire?
I like walking around the ballpark and just like going for a run outside it, or at the end of the night walking around it. I like milkshakes from Zestos. That's always good. We end up eating an insane amount of sushi while we're here as a crew at ESPN. Wow. There's a sushi spot downtown that we've been going to for my 4 years now here. And we probably go, I would say on average, we go 3 times per College World Series, maybe more, honestly. So that's a hot spot as well.
Okay, well, those are good, and obviously the drover for the tomahawk steak is high up on the list as well. I know you had your first one last year, so I'm sure there will be another one in your future. Last one for you here, completely off topic, but I saw you were in a wedding recently, so I got to know, what's your MO at a wedding? Are you tearing up the dance floor? Are you off to the side with a drink in hand? What are you doing?
I probably neither, a little bit in between. At times, maybe thinking I can dance, which I definitely can't. My goal for this wedding was learn how to do the gritty going in. So I spent
Oh,
probably 30 minutes watching YouTube videos of trying to learn how to do the gritty, which probably will be used against me in a court of law if this gets out to the right people. But I was trying to bring the gritty to this wedding that I was at, one of my college roommates. It was requested that I perform it, and it did not get performed well, but we tried to. No, I'm not much of a dancer, but
all right.
definitely there for a good time.
Well, listen, that's what's important. There for a good time, and I fully anticipate if a game goes late night because of a rain delay in Omaha, that we're going to come back at a break, and you're going to be showing KP how to do the gritty. All right.
I might get launched out of the booth if I try that, but which would totally be warranted.
Well, hey, Mike, as always, really appreciate the time. Looking forward to tuning in and listening to you, KP, Chris Button, Danny, Kyle, Carl Ravitch, everybody on the crew. There's too many to name, but always love the coverage these next 12 days. And thanks for joining us here. Enjoy the Men's College World Series.
David, thanks, man. I appreciate you having me. It's always good chatting with you, and you do great work. So thanks for having me on board.
Thank you, Mike. All right, he's Mike Monaco, one of the voices of ESPN for the Men's College World Series, among many other things. This has been the pre-Men's College World Series edition of Dugouts, Dumbbells, and Dingers.